Hey there, my name is Pravus, and welcome to more Foundation. In the last episode, we spent an ungodly amount of time building up a proper military hill fort, which looks pretty decent, I have to say, and it wasn't quite enough to get me into the positive rating with the kingdom, but at least we're going in the right direction. And I do want to make this a primary focus for the next couple of videos because this is the last big progression tree I need to work down. The one exception, of course, being with the clergy. We can finish these guys out. We have only a little bit left to unlock to the paramount level, and that is a monastic... How do you pronounce that? I think it's a basial church based off of like an abbot or an abbey. Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to get this. We need a bit more splendor to do that, and I have a path forward. We're going to be building up a stone church and turning this into a major urban hub over here. This does, of course, take a ridiculous amount of polished stone, but you know what? I've been stockpiling a lot for this exact eventuality, so that's going to be fine. Now, here's the real problem, though, right? How are we going to build it in a timely fashion? Because I really cannot afford to spend 5 hours waiting on this sucker, especially when I have other projects to work on. I need to build out a tavern. I need to have a whole bunch more industry. I need to get a lot of stuff, right? And what I had promised to do in between videos was look for some mods that might help. Well, I didn't find anything that would fix that, but along the way I did some more reading as to the base mechanics of the game, and I think I just either fundamentally misunderstood something or at least now have a better appreciation for it. Namely, the AI pathing and how builders are selected. I had assumed, mistakenly, it turns out, that if I placed building huts at a bunch of different strategic locations throughout the town, right, in each of the major urban centers, that people were going to work at whatever jobs are closest to them, because that's how a lot of these kinds of games work, right? They naturally choose to go work at whatever is the closest building site. That is not how it works in Foundation, apparently. Instead, when you place down a series of different build orders, or even just one, your builders are going to prioritize in sequential order based on when you place them. So if I place down, for example, a bunch of different steps in this fort, it will focus on the first one I place, then the second, then the third, and so on and so forth. Now, the other trick is only one builder can work on those segments at a time. So by setting up huge segments of the fort at a time instead of doing little piecemeal sections, the result is only one builder could really be working on it at a time. And then, here's the kicker, it would choose a builder randomly from all the different building huts that were actively available. That could mean, for example, that somebody was way down over here, and they got selected to go work on the military fort, so they had to go walking all the way over here, pick up some resources, walk all the way up over here, drop them off, start doing some building projects, and then head back home, and then it would choose a new one randomly from throughout the town. But here's the other thing, right? People still have their own needs to meet. So what could happen is people are getting some materials, and then they basically have to abandon it after a very small stretch, and there's so much time spent walking that nothing was happening. That's my explanation. That's how I think that this is supposed to be working. Knowing that, it changes everything. You don't place a bunch of different building huts all over the place. That's where you get the inefficiency. Instead, you focus on building out certain segments of the city. For example, all of my construction is over here right now. And now I place down only 2 builders' workshops, for example, right next to each other. Fill them up with builders. And now these guys are going to be working on the nearest possible sites. There's no risk of pulling someone from over here because there isn't a builder's hut. And what we're going to do is when we're done constructing this big segment of the city, you demolish the builders' workshops, move on to the next big area, place down some fresh ones, and that's how you do it. I think that's the solution. I think that's going to speed everything up to an acceptable level again. I really wish I'd understood that sooner because it would have saved me a lot of time. But here we go. Here's hoping I'm right. Now, I will say, looking through all of the different mods that are available in the game, there are some pretty awesome things that people have created. Like, I didn't really realize just how big this game was as far as its player base and the modding community, but there's a lot of mods. There's a lot of mods for this game, including some really creative ones that really would change up the way you play the game kind of entirely. So, I don't know. If I can, in fact, find out that this is a way to make the game playable and keep it pacing at a decent rate, in the future, modded Foundation runs are very much a feasible thing and could be really, really fun to do. So, we'll keep that in mind. But yeah, it's a big community. It's definitely worth browsing the workshop if you guys are playing this game. Take a look. There's some cool stuff. So what are the big projects for today? Mostly just developing this entire area, because there's a lot I want to do. First off, we're building out a pretty cool little market circle area over here. I need to set up a tax office administrative building. The stone church is a big one. And then I kind of planned out what I think is going to be a really awesome tavern. which you can't see the ghost of it right now, but when it's built, it's gonna look cool. Also need to get this iron mine up and a-running. I have a couple of iron smelters set up further away from the residential area, plus a charcoal hut, so we'll be able to make a bunch of iron bars. Then we can choose to either smith that down, or perhaps use it at a cooperage and make some barrels. And the barrels will have to get shipped all the way down here to the monastery. And at the monastery, we're already growing up a whole load of grapes. In fact, I can see that the vines are laden with bountiful grapes. Yes, and with those, we'll be able to start making wine. But I need to have barrels first, so yeah, there's actually kind of a giant waste of time with these grapes right now. But they look good, so I'm okay with it. My soldiers were defeated in a mission? Oh, that sucks. Hold on. I was told it was almost certainly to be a victory. Gosh dang it. All right, well, yeah, remember that mini-game that I was telling you guys about in the last video with the whole armies thing and what we can do? Easy missions, blah, blah, blah? Yeah, apparently, this didn't go very well. Very easy, and we still lost. Gosh dang it. Oh, wow, I actually lost 3 people in this whole battle as well. Wow, I just wanted to train. How did this even happen? All I did was train some militia at another town. That's it. This shouldn't have even been a risk of a casualty, and yet 3 people died. Gosh dang, my soldiers are, woefully unprepared, we'll say. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to say right now, I'm already starting to see a bit of a difference. Within just a couple of minutes, we were able to get things like some granaries set up, which is certainly very helpful. We're already working on some more of these iron deposits. I can actually assign a couple of miners over here. We built a house. Yeah, already, this is much faster than what I was doing before. So, yeah, that's the lesson. Builders' workshops are temporary structures to be relocated based on where you want to build things. They are not there to be a permanent fixture of your economy. What is this? A majestic stained glass masterpiece? I don't even know how to make glass. Where did you guys incept this idea? I don't know. Yeah, we got a lot of these masterpieces. There's not a dang thing I know how to do with any of them. Makes me feel kind of bad, man. Okay, starting to make some progress. Still taking longer than I'd like, but at least we're starting to get somewhere. Cooperage is about to be finished, and the fact that it's right next to these building sites is certainly going to help. Boom, okay. Now we can get up to 3 coopers in the town, taking some planks, some iron, some tools and stuff, and making the barrels we need to get some wine. All right, are there any commoners who are assigned to rather menial jobs that could be better put to use elsewhere? Yeah, probably at least a few. And now that that's all taken care of, I think the next big thing to do is to go ahead and get started on the church. Why? Because all these people living over here do still need their service needs met, and if we are not doing that, then they are probably going to start traveling all the way down here to the nearest church, and that's a lot of travel time. Reducing travel time is king. This is the lesson that I have chosen to learn out of this. So if you can build this church, even though it's extremely expensive, this will make this entire area a far more efficient area in general. I do kind of wish that trade would get reworked, and I know there's a mod for that, but I would like to see that change a little bit more. For example, more raw goods being sold from someone, I don't care who, maybe the labor or whatever. Like, I don't want to buy iron bars at a premium, I'd like to buy a lot more iron ore and stuff at a cheaper price, and then I spend the time refining that into iron. These are things that I'd like to see added in, by default. But like I said, there's a mod for that. When in doubt, just search, there's probably a mod for that. Oh, what do you know? Mission success. Soldiers successfully return with the spoils of war. We get a little bit of influence, plus we get a lot of other cool stuff. It's not a lot, mind you, but it's something. Yay, soldiers! You did something right and didn't die on an easy mission this time. I'm so proud, question mark, of you. Oh, wow, and we still lost 2 people. Right, okay. I think the lesson I'm learning here is don't send them on missions unless everyone's got a weapon, all right, because they're not going to be able to do their job very well barehanded. And don't send them unless they're fully trained, ideally. It is worth noting, by the way, that apparently the developers released a roadmap for the rest of this year as far as how they're going to continue developing the game. That came out fairly recently, so there's a lot more that's still actively being worked on, including such things as some more monuments and changes up to some of the progression systems, Tier 3 housing, which I thought already existed, but apparently does not, so that's going to get added into the game, and a whole bunch of other things. But the full release is expected to go out toward the end of this year, and then they're going to start polishing up some DLCs. Very, very interesting, and could be quite lucrative and interesting for me. I mean, again, I like this game and what it has to offer. I think with the right mod packs and the right rebalancing, this could become, like, really fun to do again. But better, with more, I don't know, fantasy themes or more hardcore realistic themes. Something like that. Almost done with this church, and it's starting to look really good. Though, again, let me point out a small frustration. Why is the builder building one tool? Why are you bringing one tool along with you when you need two, right? These kinds of tiny inefficiencies are what kind of just peeve me off as far as how this game is run. Like, this is definitely faster, right? My strategy as far as placing the workshops closer has worked, for sure. This is not taking 5 hours, it's taken only about 1. But, there's clearly some room for improvement as far as how the builders are programmed, and having maybe one person constantly building while the other two go and deliver materials or something. Anything to make this more efficient, honestly. I think should be a very high priority for the developers to make it a more bearable experience. Nonetheless, we're getting through this. What else are we doing right now? We are producing a fair bit of wine, it turns out. 81 wine now. We're getting some of these barrels. A little bit behind on herbs. Might want to start growing more of that. One thing that's starting to kill me, honestly, is just the iron bars. And I'm kind of surprised by that because, like, we should have a fair bit of iron that's been produced. There was a time when we had more iron than I knew what to do with, and yet somehow the iron ore is falling way off, and we're still not producing enough iron bars to meet all of our needs for common goods, for tools, and we haven't even started producing things like swords. So I don't really know what the heck to do there because I can't increase the number of iron deposits that are on the map. All we can do is start building across the river and prospecting everything over here. And to be fair, all right, this area over here is crawling with minerals of some sort. So, like, when I go across this river, we're going to have a whole mess of new industries I should be able to open up in this area. But I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't have to do that in order to progress in the game and have fun with it. So this is where you can see there's like mods and stuff to place down iron mines like anywhere on the map. And I completely understand why people felt like that was a thing to add into the game. It makes perfect sense to me. I think all I'm waiting for literally is one last gargoyle to get placed on top of the roof, which should be right there. It is! Alright, the church is now Dunskies. We have reached the paramount tier for the clergy. Because this thing is producing, surprisingly, only 26 splendor, considering how dang expensive that was. I think I expected a little bit more, but alright. So the rating is now 113. Now, unfortunately, it's going to take 50 influence for every one of these additional unlocks, so it's going to take a little bit of time. But we can go ahead and learn how to make a monastic abbatial church. Yeah, that could be a fun project for the future. I'm willing to bet it's going to be stupidly expensive, though. Wait, where even is this thing? It's not under... It's under mods? No, that's additional houses, only for decoration and stuff. What, where's the abbatial church? Maybe it's a thing that's like a placeholder and they haven't added it in the game yet. Kind of like how the labor category at Paramount isn't done yet. The same sort of thing is happening here. Either that or I'm an idiot, and considering how many things I'm missing in this game so far, and the mistakes that I've made, it's totally possible. But yeah, nothing has popped up as something new to build, and it's not under services, so I have no idea where it would be. Whoa, okay, I may have overdone something a little bit over here. So I turned on a mod that increases the amount of fish that's produced by some of these fishing huts, because it turns out that, you know, at some point in the game, you're going to have the entirety of your coast taken up by fishing huts. Like, that's inevitable if you eventually get up to, like, 500, 600, 700 kind of population. The result, though, is that I am producing way more fish than I know what to do with. So, tell you what, we're going to go ahead and turn some of these off, because this is a little on the excessive side. I might actually need to turn that mod off. That seems a little bit too powerful. Whatever, it's fine. I only lost my ability to do achievements. What are other mods I turned on? Well, I turned on the ability to place down some of the additional housing and stuff over here, which I think is mostly just so I can control where houses are placed and stuff like that. It's going to help a little bit. Plus, we have more architectural styles, I think. So that's all well and good. I also turned on a mod that increases storage space, because I do feel like just 100 of each type is a little bit too much, or rather too small, and I don't want to have a situation where I have to have warehouses all over the dang place just to be able to store up the same types of materials. So I thought that was a fine thing to turn on. But yeah, increasing production here might have overdone it just a bit. Good God, that's a lot of fish. Anyway, okay, so with all of this done, what would be the next big project for me? Well, I would say let's start working on the big tavern, which is going to be very expensive in terms of things like polished stone and stuff, and I need to build up my stockpiles for a little bit. So I think we put this on hold for now. And instead, I start focusing on getting more of the military points, because as we've gotten more powerful with the clergy, you can see we've gone further into the negative with the kingdom. So I need to start placing down more forts. Yep, no, that's so fun. More forts. Okay, well, best thing I can think to do, honestly, is just place what looks like quote-unquote defensive towers in several key locations. I think that's probably the only thing I really can do, and we're just going to have a whole bunch of them, like, dotting the river. In the event, you know, there were, let's say, some sort of an enemy attack down the river, we'd be in a position to try and repel them, or at least be aware that they're here. Or, I don't know. Something like that. So a fortified keep here and there on these little areas. That could be fun. So, knowing that I'm going to be making all these different construction projects all over the place, let's go ahead and unassign all of these different builders, let them finish up whatever they're working on so they don't get broken later, their, you know, employment status. And then we'll demolish all these builders' workshops and we'll relocate them elsewhere where it makes more sense. So let's just say temporarily it makes a lot more sense to place these down over this way. So we'll rotate you around kind of like this. Boom. Go ahead and build. We'll worry about things like the sculptures and stained glass at another time, and then we want to go ahead and attach a couple additional ones on like this, so I can have, let's say, at least 6 builders. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and boom, now these builders are in a better position. We can unpause some constructions we had in the monastery. I can start working on some of these bridges over Mya, and we can unpause this military fort, and they're all within a reasonable walking distance. Oh! Good news, everyone. I found the abbatial church. It's actually under the monastery. If we go down over this way, that's the abbatial church. Ooh, an abbatial nave. Okay. Yeah, we could build a really nice looking, oh my gosh, a really nice looking nave over here. I mean, this is too far away, so I can't exactly show it all off, and I don't have enough space on the island anymore. But that's a pretty cool looking thing. Plus, we got the abbatial bell tower. Oh my, fancy. And we have abbatial gates. Oh my, fancy. I'm surprised these things don't require marble, if I'm honest. It feels like that's where it's going. Oh, look at the abbatial galleries and stuff. These look so nice. Wow. Yeah, if I had the time and the patience and everything else for it, building a whole nother monastery that's basically just one giant super church would actually be kind of cool. What the heck? All I did was click on the button. I didn't actually inaugurate an abbatial church. Oi! I didn't... I didn't do this thing. Whatever, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And just, let's not forget that I can even get more decorations. Golden or marble crosses, stained glass of peace and love, a whole bunch of benches and fountains and stuff. Oh my gosh. So much cool stuff. I don't know if it adds any value at this point aside from just being an endgame-like accomplishment, but it will look cool. Resource-wise, how do we think we're doing? For the most part, pretty good. We're overproducing a few things, like coal, for example. Could pull pretty heavily back on that, and considering how much of our wood we seem to be consuming, that might be a smart plan. So let's see, we'll have, I guess the 2 over there is okay. Let's stop producing coal in a place like this, since we shouldn't need it. And then, I guess at least temporarily I can stop producing so much coal over here as well. So let's pull back on how many people are working in this area, even though we need it for things like the iron smelters and the blacksmith. We're still overproducing. Wine's looking good, but I'm going to start selling the excess. Same with things like beer if we can. Plenty of hops. Lots of milk, leading to a pretty hefty amount of cheese. Fish is still overdoing it, but that's how it is. So I think that one of the things we're really suffering for is actually just the same luxuries we've been having problems with in the past. Herbs, honey. These are 2 things that we need a lot of. And unfortunately, the monastery can only do so much. This is a primary source of luxuries for us. Yeah, we may have to build multiple monasteries all over the dang town just to get enough luxuries at this point, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's okay, I guess. What else? Let's see. Candles are still suffering, which is weird because we have a load of wax. So that's not the issue. It just comes back down to iron again. Ugh, yay, yay. All right, does anyone sell iron? Because at this point, it's better just to go ahead and start buying it. Yeah, we can buy iron bars. We can do that. No one sells iron ore, though, which just makes me sad, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and start buying a minimum number of iron bars just to keep our economy a-rolling at all times. And this will be expensive, but, like, I'm doing pretty good on the money front, so I feel like we can afford to do this. You know, one thing that really confuses me is sometimes the consumption rates in this game, right? Because not that long ago, I had about 500 cheese, because the only place we were using it was a tavern, right, to just make some meals, and frankly, not that many people need the meals, so it wasn't being used very often, fair enough. So I went over down here to the marketplace, and instead of bread, started selling cheese, and all of a sudden, we dropped down to 267. Like, holy crud, these guys are consuming a stupid amount of cheese. Good lord. It's like, and this is only one small piece of the freaking town. So, like, if I wanted to supply cheese to everywhere, how many dang cheesemakers would I need? I like how the game, by the way, has completely run out of names. Mail number 1054, 569, and 1512. Report to the cheesemaker, please. By the way, I really appreciate, I say with extreme sarcasm, how apparently wounded people never heal. I'm pretty sure Numidia has been wounded for, like, months/years now. We'll just say not wounded, maimed. Maimed is the proper word. You're never going to recover from that. Oh, well, that's fine. We could just, like, pull this person off from being a soldier and put them back in civilian life, I guess. But, I guess we could just send them on more missions until they die or something. Is there anything that gets me stuff I really want, though? For example, yeah, swords and spears. Like, this is a very easy mission, but it gets me more weapons so I can support more troops and stuff. That makes sense. Okay, this is still taking too long. I've now been recording for about 3 hours, and we've barely made any progress on the whole military fort. Yes, we were able to construct, like, a lot of other stuff for the clergy and so on, and that's all well and good. But, yeah, I'm currently not in a position where I'm going to be getting much more progress with the military folks, so what else could I change that might make this easier? Well, first off, we're going to go ahead and start working on another fort way over this direction, and you all know what that means. It means we set up ourselves another one of these workshops over here. I'm kind of wondering if the way to speed things up next is to assign workers at a warehouse, like this, for example, set planks, and then tell them to stock up the maximum, assign a couple of extra people, and have them just bring resources closer to the work site. And then if we have to end up either taking this away or demolishing the workshop later, or the warehouse later, we can do that. But the thought is, like, maybe we can speed up the construction just by forcing the materials to be really close by. So, like, let's take a look at this, for example, with the warehouse. Let's just make sure we understand how this is all supposed to work. So I've got a transporter, like this guy right over here, for example. Wait, hang on. Are they bringing over planks? They are not. Okay, hang on. I want to find out if these guys are going to prioritize actually getting planks and bringing them back. So, by saying stock maximum, yes. Okay, so they just brought a whole mess of planks over here. Yeah, I think that's the other thing you do then, is you move the builders close by, and then you force the resources close by. We can turn this off later if needed, and boom, that should make this a much, much, much faster process. There we go, and see, just like that, now we're bringing 47 planks, and look how much faster this will be! All right, let's hope this is my solution. And just so people are aware, I have finished buying the last of the clergy progression tree. So labor, clergy, common path, all done. It's now about the kingdom and literally nothing else. Did we finish with the fort? We did, and oh, I'm finally in the positive. Okay, we have a rating of 5. Guess what I can do? I can buy Military Fort Splendor, which means now I should be able to start decorating these forts, which is going to boost up my splendor and boost up my rating so I can continue doing with everything else. Yes, 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 yes. We finally have hit this point. Okay, this is good. So we could free build if we wanted to with no particular functions, and that's honestly fine. Mostly we're here to decorate. There's banners, okay, there's gates, there's decorative flags, and there's porches. Yeah, merely the fact that I'm going to be adding on banners to a bunch of these things is going to do a lot. It's just the cost of cloth, and I got loads of that, basically. So this is super duper cheap, plus 36 more splendor added onto this tower. Yes, that's really good. I think this taxation privilege could be really good. If a military mission is ongoing, which, by the way, is like all the time because they take forever to finish, taxation accumulation speed increases by 50% seems a little ridiculous. I mean, call it war taxes if you want. That seems really strong, all right? All right, so let's see. It's been 3.5 hours that I've been recording. There's a lot of things I've set up over here, all right? We got like several different broken up projects, like 4 different workers should be able to go at a time. Plus, I have a warehouse bringing most of the important stuff right next to the base. So with all of this being required, let's see how quickly this gets done, all right? From start to finish, how long does this take? 18 minutes. Almost exactly 18 minutes. That's how long it took to finish this, which, by the way, was enough to kick me all the way up to the Paramount rank. So just like that, we finished the entirety of the Kingdom progression tree over here. And that, for the record, is 18 minutes with 9 builders and the resources right next to the build site. All of them. So they would have almost no travel time whatsoever, and it still took that long. So to me, this is the definitive proof as to a flaw or at least an inefficiency in the programming that could be improved to make this a more enjoyable experience playing the game with just generally speaking better pacing. And it comes down to 2 things that I have observed. One, your builders take free time almost all at the exact same time. They don't really stagger it, and since only one person works on a segment at a time anyway, the result is all 9 of them come back on shift, and then only like 3 of them are ever working at any given time. The others are doing absolutely nothing. So if they staggered who was working and when, that would be a much more efficient process. The other thing I'm noticing is that every single tiny piece of the entire construction, so every individual banner gets its goods delivered individually, one at a time. So I put down 8 banners, right? That should mean that I needed about 40 cloth, 40 wood, and 8 tools. So they delivered 5 cloth, 5 wood, 1 tool, and then 5 cloth, 5 wood, 1 tool, 8 times. Again and again and again, they did it. Instead of delivering all of it at once, and I know they have the carrying capacity, they would do each one individually. That means there's a lot of extra walking time, and then by the time they've delivered one thing, it's free time, and guess what? They're all on break again. So that's where this game is going wrong. You need your builders, I think, to be delivering a lot of things all at once to the construction project, right? Carry 8 tools and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, we're done. We've dropped them all off. That's the way to go. Stagger the shifts. That's the way to go. That's what makes this game better, my opinion. That's how you take the tedium out of the building and actually let me progress at a pace where I can actually swarm across this entire map. Because at this point, I want to unleash my creativity here. I want to start building on the other side of the river. I want to just like completely sprawl a kingdom all over this place. But the way I'm looking at it, it's going to take me 20, 30, 40 hours or something like that in order to really encompass this entire valley the way that I'm envisioning. And who's got time for that? Ain't nobody. So, yeah, those are things that I would like to see change at some point in the game. I don't know if that's in their roadmap exactly, but if the devs happen to watch this, that's my recommendation. Change the way the AIs are programmed for your builders so you actually make some serious progress in a decent pace. Those are the specific ways that I would recommend it, and I think this game will be a heck of a lot better. Anyway, I'm going to end this particular video here. We're not done yet. The series has at least a little bit more to go. I don't think I'm going to have time to build out a proper abbatial church simply because of the way things are going, but I absolutely want to build out a glorious tavern, and there's a few other things that we can work on. Plus, I still need to get through the rest of the Kingdom Estate, which, by the way, we can go for even more decorations now. Weaponsmiths and inherited land privileges. Let's go ahead and pick up more decorations. And at this point, since we have so much raiding, like, I could just sit back and wait for my influence to get all the way to maximum, and that would be enough to win the game. So, yeah, one more video probably is all we're going to need. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I'm not complaining too much. I'm trying to be constructive in how I identify the problems of this game, but you have to admit, it's looking pretty swanky despite everything. Be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, make sure you hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.